are honored to have with us this morning the Color Guard from Luke Air Force Base and Senior Airman Timothy Orr to sing the National Anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance with Councilmember Margaret Chittenden.
Please join me in the pledge, and after we'll have a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please, God, bless all armed services, public servants, fire department, and police department. Thank you much.
You may be seated. Let's have a big round of applause for our national anthem singer, the Luke Color Guard. Airman. So welcome to our Veterans Celebration. I want to introduce our first speaker. He's a friend of mine that goes way back from Leadership West days, Class 10, and I think they're on Class 24. Steve went on to resurrect Fighter Country Partnership, which has become just an outstanding organization in the West Valley, serving the men, women, and mission of Luke Air Force Base. Then became my boss at APS for a while, and then answered a higher calling, which is, and you'll see in a little bit, running the veterans programs for the foundation of Maricopa Community Colleges. A lot more to that. I think you're a vice president now, and he's got some wild socks if you get a chance to check those out. 'Tis the season. Steve's going to share with us this morning a very exciting development, which is the opening of West Valley Veterans Center. Did I get the title right? Which is at Luke Air Force Base. If you haven't been there, you should stop by and see that. This is the culmination of a dream. We've done a lot of work with our Military Affairs Committee on servicing and providing services for our veterans. This brings the whole piece together. I'm not going to steal his thunder, but ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Steve Yamamori.
Well, good morning, and thank you so much. There are so many friends around this room that I will be definitely preaching to the choir. So I apologize in advance, Skip. I know you've heard this, council members. I know you've heard this many, many times. So I will. We've got about 38 slides and about 5 minutes to go through them. So we're going to go through this very quickly. And I don't really need a presentation because I wanted to just share with you a few facts. 20 million veterans across the country. And we've got about 600,000+ here in the state of Arizona. Half of those are here in Maricopa County. To give you a little bit of range on that, we've got just about 250,000 students amongst all 10 campuses at Maricopa Community Colleges, and we've got between 10 and 15,000 veteran students currently enrolled in our college campuses. To give you an idea, that's at ASU, there are about 5,500 student veterans at ASU. So we have got one of the largest veteran student populations in the country going to school right now at Maricopa County. And what we've noticed about 2.5 years ago, what we noticed was that on average, our veteran students are less successful than their civilian peers. And when we look to find out why, we noticed that the transitioning out of the military can be very difficult. And right now there are over 40,000 organizations nationwide that support military and veterans, but the awareness of those programs is very low. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to create 2 regional centers so that we can support holistically veterans as they're making their transition out, as well as any veteran that needs some support, that needs some services, that we would actually hire case managers, we call them success coaches, that are hired and work full-time, who will literally see any veteran that comes into our centers, or that we will outreach into the community and be able to look at them and all aspects of their life, financial, employment, housing, human services, health, mental health, all of those areas, and find out exactly where they are and what their status is, and be able to put together a success plan that will help them get to whatever area they want to go to. I'll give you a couple of quick findings that we've been doing as we've been working on this project. When we have veterans come in, a lot of times they'll be more enlisted, a little bit younger, and I think it might surprise you that 20% of our 2 million veterans are post 9/11 younger veterans. And that's a pretty large segment of the population. If we think about the overall veteran population of 20 million, and 9% of those are female veterans. So that's a very large population of folks that we are serving, and there are a lot of folks, the female veterans are underserved, our younger veterans are underserved, and our ethnic minority veterans are underserved. We've got a very diverse veteran population, and it's something that we are really making efforts to help and support. So as you see, there's some information here that we can go through. But one of the key points is that, again, why we decided to start this veteran support system was that 80% of our veteran students need remedial classes before they get started on their way to their degree. And many of you know that the GI Bill is a 36-month window of opportunity to be able to gain that degree. So we'd have a lot of folks, because they're transitioning out, they didn't have a plan in place. And so without a plan, they would jump into the GI Bill, and they were not prepared to be successful as students, but they had no other avenue of employment or housing. A lot of the folks that are transitioning out of the military have about 30-day window between losing their home and losing their employment. And so what they would jump into is the GI Bill, because it not only offers tuition, but it offers about $1,200 as a housing stipend. But they are not prepared to be successful because they don't have a plan. So they meander in and out, and eventually they find that they are running out of that 36-month benefit without even a 2-year degree. And I will tell you, the worst case scenario is that if you are under a 2.0, you cannot go back to school. And when that situation happens, you need to pay that money back to the government. And so the worst case scenario is that we have veteran students who have no 2-year degree and owe tens of thousands of dollars to the federal government. And so that is what the situation precipitated us being able to say, wait a minute, let's give transitioning military members, let's give veterans who didn't have that information before they got out and maybe having some difficulty now, to be able to give them a plan in place and then help them execute that. Because there's over 40,000 organizations nationwide that support military and veterans. I've said that, but again, there's very little awareness of how to work on those benefits. Because if you get a directory of resources and you're a military veteran and you call a place for housing support and they say, well, you're a post 9/11 veteran, right? No, I'm not. Well, I'm sorry, we can't help you. What we found is that it is very specific to the service that you have, which means the benefits that you are eligible for. And so what we have is the West Valley Veterans Center. We went around and we spoke with all of the cities in the West Valley. And I have to tell you that the City of Surprise, City Vale Mirage, really stepped up. And we spoke with Skip, we spoke with the council members, we briefed them fully, the mayor came on board, and they really helped us understand. The city manager, Nicole Lance, Seth Dyson, who's a wonderful asset to this community in the human services area, really have a passion about veterans. So you can be very proud of this city and this chamber's growing communities in the amount of support that they offer. So we got together and along with Luke Air Force Base, we have the old Lightning Gate Visitor Center, and it's building 1153, but as you can see, it is public access, so you don't need a base pass to get in there. It's got a bus turnaround, so anybody that can grab a bus can find our center, and it has about 20 parking spots that are available. What we wanted to do is to not have this be a drain on the community, and it is privately funded, so there is no admissions ratio that I have to keep track of, so that we do not have this be simply a way for us to try to attract students at Maricopa Community Colleges. This is truly, in fact, before I started, they said, if there are any veterans that come into the services and they never step foot on a college campus, we're going to help them, correct? And they said yes, because that's the right thing to do. So with the help of Luke Air Force Base, we were able to offer services to transitioning airmen and their spouses. So they gave us an in-kind lease, so we are only paying for the utilities for this for the next 5 years. And we also have a license agreement that we will support every airman coming out of Luke Air Force Base for the next 4 years, and that's about 400 to 450 airmen and women that we want to get jobs, we want them to get their education, and we want them to stay right here in this area. So it's economic development, it's education, and it's also supporting the folks that have served us. So as we've gone through this, we also, and I have to tell you very quickly, we had our incarcerated reentry students, the ladies out at Perryville Prison. They came in, and they are students within Maricopa, and they did all of the renovations. They did the demolition, they did the drywall, they did the electric, they put in the carpet, and they painted the center themselves, which saved about $40,000 worth of work. We also received funding through all of the West Valley. We have commitments from all 11 of our West Valley cities to support this endeavor for the next 5 years, because we are putting together an endowment fund. That's about our annual budget that we have right now. And our funding will be put into an endowment. So we are in the process of raising $5 million to go into an endowment fund, and at 5% return, we'll have that $250,000 in perpetuity so that we can serve our veterans for as long as we have veterans in our community. And again, I wanted to kind of list out these numbers. It is a 5-year commitment that we have from all of our partners in the West Valley. And I can't tell you how much I've been impressed with this community. I've not seen a community come together for military and veterans, active duty, Guard and Reserves, or all of our branches. And so, again, I'm preaching to the choir, but I say thank you to all of you for being able to make this a reality and a dream come true. We opened our doors on the 9th of November. And what I would say to you is, if there is anyone that you know that is struggling, that's a military member, family, or spouse, we will take and we will help and we will support anybody that needs help. And so with that, Patrick, I'll turn it back over to you. But again, thank you all for your time, and God bless.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you for your dedication to the veteran causes and all that you do for our military. It's outstanding. Okay, our next speaker retired 2 weeks ago from the U.S. Air Force Reserve, is that correct? National Guard, okay, was with the 161st out at Sky Harbor, the refueling contingent. So I don't know if you've ever seen those, I think they're 737 equivalents that fly with the little tail on them. You see them coming out in and out of Sky Harbor. That's the 161st, and they spend a lot of time up in the air refueling A-10s, F-16s, F-35s, and anything else that needs fuel when you're up that high that can receive it. Dr. Joseph Cuffar, he asked that we call him Joe, so everyone. Hi, Joe. Okay, thank you. And thank you for your service, sir, and congratulations. He was also in the Air Force Reserve in the Office of Special Investigation. He is currently the Policy Advisor for Public Safety for Governor Ducey with the state of Arizona. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe.
Well, good morning, Patrick and Ed Logan. Thanks for bringing me out of retirement at 0600 this morning. I appreciate it. Patrick told me that I'm standing between you and lunch, so I'm going to keep this to under an hour, okay? As Patrick mentioned, I'm Governor Ducey's Military and Veterans Affairs Policy Advisor, so I'm on the governor's immediate staff, and I thank the Arizona, or the Chamber for hosting us today, and Ed, thank you very much. Ed Logan and I served together in the Air Force in the Office of Special Investigations and did some interesting things back in the day. Just a few slides with Governor Ducey. He started off last year with a visit down to Fort Huachuca with the commanding general and the soldiers, airmen actually, and also Marine Corps contingents that are down in Fort Huachuca. Just a few slides we're going to go through very quickly. He also went to Pearl Harbor and represented the state of Arizona at the 75th anniversary of the bombing of Pearl Harbor last year. And he met with a Pearl Harbor survivor. And he also visited Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. They're the home to the A-10, and they also have EC and HC-130s down there, Tucson. And he went to a Cardinals game on Veterans Day last year, and these just happen to be members of the Arizona Air National Guard 161st Air Refueling Wing at Sky Harbor Airport. Just as a recap, 2 years ago now, this would be back in 2016, we had about 1,300 bills introduced throughout the year. The session lasted about 117 days, and at the end of the day, the governor signed 374 bills. These are primarily bills that concern veterans or military dependents or active duty or reservists. What we found is that transitioning military members and their families, the spouse, whether it be a male or female, were having difficult times coming into the state of Arizona and having their licenses from other states recognized here in Arizona. These pieces of legislation and those that I'll talk about that happened in 2017 made it much more easier for spouses transitioning to Arizona to get licensed here, to have a reciprocity agreement. House Bill 2019, I want to add, these are all basically nonpartisan bills. There were no contentious discussions between either members of the political parties or between the two houses. 2019 allows state employees who happen to have been at one point on active duty to purchase up to 5 years of their active duty time to make it count for state civil service purposes. That's a good deal. It goes to Steve's point about encouraging individuals who retired or transitioned out of the state military bases to stay in the state and also to get employment with the state government. Last year, this past legislative session was a little bit longer. We went 122 days. We had about the same number of bills. come through ultimately to the governor's desk, and he signed 333 of them. You could see Senate Bill 1042 was an enhancement to the previous year's 2016 bill about licensing reciprocity. This specifically concerned teaching certifications. There were other bills on there like 1057 and 2107 that helped dependents who were coming into the state of Arizona sort of midterm in their school year. They're considered in-state residents as soon as they get their orders. So once they come into the state, they're placed on the priority list as though they had been living here their entire life. And licensing reciprocity, occupational licensing, those down at the bottom are other efforts by the state Senate and House and the governor's office to incentivize individuals, again, who are leaving active duty to stay in the state, or to attract those who retired in other states to come to the state of Arizona. I got to tell you, the state of Arizona is very, very blessed. We have 6 active duty installations in the state. They start out at Fort Huachuca down in Sierra Vista. They go to Tucson with Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. The Yuma Marine Air Station out in Yuma, as well as the Yuma Proving Grounds, are exceptionally important to the defense of the nation. And then we come up here, obviously, to Luke Air Force Base. The outlier is up in Flagstaff, the Naval Observatory. They do a very strategically important mission for the DOD and other assets in federal government. We have about 54,000 active duty individuals in the state and their dependents, and those are coupled with the Arizona National Guard, which we have about 7,600 individuals, primarily assigned in 2 air units, one at the 161st Air Refueling Wing at Sky Harbor. Patrick mentioned we have 8 KC-135s. They have a worldwide refueling mission. And then the 162nd Wing, it's co-located down at the Tucson International Airport. They do international F-16 training for our allied nations. And then we have the Western Army Aviation Training Site, the Florence Armory, and Camp Navajo up in Flagstaff. They sort of encompass the largest of the 36 National Guard installations in the state. Then we also have about 7,400 reservists. Army, Air, Marines, and Navy are stationed in the state of Arizona. And as Patrick and then Steve mentioned, we have about 600,000 veterans who live in the state of Arizona. 2 bills, or 1 bill and then an interesting footnote. In 2013, this is a federal law. It allows employers who hire veterans who are coming out of active duty. It provides a 1/2 of the pay that the employers would have to pay for their salary. That is supplemented by the Department of Veterans Affairs. That's a pretty interesting figure, and that's for 1 year. So if you hire a veteran within 6 months of coming out of active duty, half of their salary is going to be paid for by the Veterans Administration. Then, in addition, we have about $480 million in Veterans Affairs or Veterans Administration disability payments that are coming into the state of Arizona. So an individual who happened to be on active duty at one point has a 10 to a 100% disability rating. They're getting some money from the VA. Collectively, that's $480 million that's coming into the state. The 4th item down, the state of Arizona's economic impact from the military installations that are in the state is $11.5 billion. To put that in perspective, the state general fund for 2017 was $9.6 billion. the impact from our military installations alone outstrips the state's budget to operate, okay, by $2 billion. And then we have what's called the Military Installation Fund. It was created in 2008. And basically, since that time, the state of Arizona has purchased private properties that are around military installations to prevent encroachment of the military operations or the installations itself. We've got about $26 million that we've used in the last 8 years. Anyone have any idea what that is? It's an Etch-a-Sketch. No, good. That is a 5-hour snapshot from the FAA of the commercial aviation traffic in the continental United States. I'm going to draw your attention in the next slide to the bottom southwest quadrant of that map, state of Arizona. The reason the state of Arizona, the reason the military installations are in the state of Arizona is because of that clear sky that you see there. That is the Barry M. Goldwater Range. Absolutely restricted airspace for military use only. You see no commercial aviation traffic in there, right? Next to it, to its right, is the Buffalo Soldier Electronic Warfare Range down at Fort Huachuca. Those two are irreplaceable assets. You cannot create what we have in the state of Arizona anywhere in the country, let alone in the world. It's the reason that Fort Huachuca, Davis-Monthan, and the 162nd at the Tucson Airport, the Marine Corps Air Station in Yuma, and Luke Air Force Base are so successful is because what we have right there. I thought we'd throw in some gee whiz photos. This is a KC-10 refueling 2 F-35s over Lake Havasu. Just a neat photo to show you. And that is one of our Arizona National Guard KC-135s refueling an F-16 over the Adriatic Sea. Told you we have a worldwide mission. The state of Arizona's Guard has been deployed since 2001. One of the missions that our KC-135 unit does is nuclear deterrence as well as worldwide area refueling. And so this was F-16s from Aviano Air Force Base, which is just to the north of Venice, flying south down the Adriatic to Crete, to Suda Bay, to participate in a NATO exercise. The only reason they were able to do that is because of these KC-135 refuelers. Okay, last year, Governor Ducey, these are just some tidbits of information and highlights of things that the governor was personally involved in that concerned the military and veterans. Like I said, he went out to the 75th anniversary of the Pearl Harbor. We are fortunate that our Arizona, the Association of Defense Communities recognized the West Valley last year, as well as the city of Arizona, city of Sierra Vista, for being one of the top 10. 2 of the top 10 happen to be in the state of Arizona. 2 of the top 10 in the country for support to the military within their communities. He also attended the 75th anniversary of the Barry M. Goldwater Range. Last year, we also renamed our 161st Refueling Wing in honor of Senator Barry Goldwater, who actually founded the unit in the late 1940s. And then these are some other events that we took, we had engagement in. The state of Arizona, item number 4, state of Arizona is the only one in the union that recognizes the work and the dedication and the sacrifice of the Tuskegee Airmen. And so last year was the 75th anniversary of those fighters, and they had a proclamation issued by the state of Arizona. They had a ceremony out at the 944th out at Luke, and we actually have in state statute that on the third Thursday of March is the official day for the Tuskegee Airmen to be recognized in the state of Arizona. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you this morning.